Welcome to Journey to Joy Live, a podcast to promote wellness, resilience, and inspire joy. Be empowered to balance your mental, physical, financial, aspirational, and social health while providing mental health awareness and breaking down the stigma of mental illness in the Black community. I'm your host, Dr. If Joy, and I'm here to help you transform life's challenges into opportunities for joy. Let's begin the journey together. Hello, this is episode 165, Why Getting Back to Yourself is Actually the Wrong Goal and What to Chase Instead. And I have Sass Schaeffer as a special guest to talk about it. She is the CEO and coach, and she's all about team positive. So it's awesome to have you on my platform because I'm all about joy and positivity.
Best friends, positivity and joy right there.
Heck yeah. So tell us about you.
Love that. Yeah. So, I was born a long time ago. I think in some ways I have a very typical story, right?
Yeah.
I had, a childhood that left me with a couple of wounds that I didn't quite manage, made some choices again and again and hit my head against the wall for most of my 20s and 30s, climbed the ladder. And then, in my 40s, life handed me a reset. And I've been on a new path ever since. And so that's the big picture hero journey. And I think when I share my story, as we all do, so many people are like, oh yeah, me too, right? Like, I get it.
Exactly. I think 40s is just that mark to have that reset. And you look like you're enjoying your reset. That's for sure. You just wear the positivity, literally wearing it, but you're wearing
always.
For sure. So CEO and coach. So tell us what you do as, well, there it is. Head coach of Team Positive, of course. So how did Team Positive get started?
Yeah. So about 3 years ago, I had a layoff from corporate and I had taken time to really build my career. And I was like super puffed up and high on myself. Like, you ever get one of those jobs where you're like, I have made it. I'm amazing. Yeah. And then I got laid off. And, it was the first time, and I had severance and I was going back to my old career. And I had this pocket of time in my early 40s where I was divorced from COVID. I was co-parenting. So I had days where I didn't have kiddo, right? I was alone and I didn't have a job. And I really just finally said, all right, Sass, like, let's do the deeper work because we've been kicking the same rock down the road for 20 years, right? Working at things, but never really happy, trying so hard. And that was really the reckoning, was the beginning of that. And when I did that, when I had this little conversation with myself, I wrote down a little set of rules I was going to do every day.
Nice.
So I'm like a total gym girly. And, when I train, I record everything. And so I was like, instead of like spiraling as I get back to myself, I'm just going to do a couple of things every day. And really just that simple idea when I needed it most turned into this idea of practicing your positivity, right? Positivity is a muscle, not a mood. It's something that we do and that we can practice by what we do. And you can get better at it, right? Like it's not easy always, but just like going to the gym, right? If you show up again and again and keep doing the right stuff. And, so I was doing some keynotes on practice your positive and sharing that message. And I made myself a couple of t-shirts that were team positive and like a hat I wear everywhere.
Yeah.
More and more we're like, I'm on team positive. I want a hat.
Exactly.
And I just realized that it had some legs to it, and I think we're really looking for community. We're looking for, in this crazy world, like who are the people that like are safe and how do we kind of find people that are living in the real world, but want to practice joy, right?
Why not?
Practice gratitude, even when things are going wrong. And so it's kind of a signal too, right? Like, hey, I'm on team positive. I'm going to I make the choice every day to show up and think the best of myself and of the world and other people and be grateful. And it's kind of taken on a little life of its own. And it's an absolute joy to share with the world.
That's so awesome. Oh my goodness. So I can take so many segues on what you said, but as far as the team positive, I actually just recently did a episode on toxic positivity and choosing joy and how choosing joy isn't toxic positivity. Because they say that with toxic positivity, it means that you're like ignoring what's going on. Like, just be positive. And, that's not what choosing joy and being on team positive means. You're not pretending it doesn't happen. But what do you have to say about toxic positivity?
Yeah, and that's right. Listen, positivity has a bad rep. I
Yeah,
think I spend a lot of my time just kind of redefining what positivity is. And it's
exactly.
really an umbrella term for like the best things in life, right? Being resilient when stuff happens, being
Yeah.
grateful for what you have, connecting to other people, right? Finding
Mm-hmm.
joy in the little things.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be toxic, right? When we just say, when something bad happens, say, oh, it happened for the best. Well,
Mm-hmm.
tell that to someone who's grieving, who has loss, right? And so there's this idea that no, it's not toxic, but it's a rep, that it's a muscle we can build, very
Mm-hmm.
much in the real world. Just like, right? Like we're just deep about it. It's not the superficial stuff. It's just like anything else that's hard in life, but you still choose to do, right?
Yeah.
Make that choice every day.
Yeah. And so you say positivity is a muscle, not a mood. And I like that because that's how I feel about joy. It's more than a mood, right? Or an emotion. So what does practicing positivity actually look like on the days when life just generally sucks?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, right? Like you have a day that sucks. And, in your mind, I know I do this. I'm like, I spilled my coffee and then I snapped my coworker and it's raining. My shoes got wet. Right. And like you can just roll
Yeah.
that snowball as big as you
Yeah.
want to. And
Mm.
we don't consider, right? Our brains are biased toward the negative. We are evolutionarily designed to look out for, is a tiger going to eat me? Is this a safe berry? Is that person going to hurt me? Right?
So
Like
true.
we are, but right now we're scanning it for what? An email from somebody that upsets me, a text from my co-parent, the sore's out of the chicken I like, right? So
Hmm.
we have this
Hmm.
negativity. And so
Yeah.
just like you can practice those negative days where you're like, and then there's traffic, and then this, and then 5 years
So
ago, just do the opposite for positivity, right? We're having a great conversation. I slept in a big, safe, clean bed. I have healthy food to eat. My kiddo is growing. Like, right? You could just sit there and just tell yourself the same story. Just make it all be good stuff.
yeah, exactly. That's so true. I mean, we make a decision to choose the positive. And of course, the negative things are going to come. There's the automatic thoughts, but are you going to marinate on it? Are you going to sit with it or are you going
Mm-hmm.
to replace it with something positive? So, as far as getting into our title, why getting back to yourself is actually the wrong goal. It's interesting because that's the new fad. Well, I don't know if it's new anymore, but how do you get back to yourself? How do you
Yeah.
find yourself? And even just now, a couple minutes ago, you mentioned when you were looking into learning how to get back to yourself, you were making lists and things like that. And that's how you found Team Positive. But as far as it being the wrong goal, and even I had a podcast episode a couple weeks ago, we were talking about it's not that you've lost your joy, you've lost yourself. So that kind of implied how do you
Mm,
find yourself? So
yeah.
why is getting back to yourself the wrong goal?
Yeah, and I think, right, we can dice this once more and talk about getting back to like maybe your true self, instead of your
Yeah.
old self, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
think for a lot of, I know for me and for, women I've coached, so many of us have spent so many years in these roles,
Yeah.
especially women. I mean, right, I'm a woman, so that's my lived experience, right? As like
Mm-hmm.
taking care of our loved ones and like not upsetting my mom and right, making
Yeah.
sure, my partner's happy and the kids happy and oh,
Mm-hmm.
someone needs something at work. Okay, I'll do it. And over the years, we really much become that role. And so if you think back to like where is you in all that, right? Like where's
Exactly.
you as just the person, not
Yeah.
owing anything to anybody. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy to lose that person, that to say to get back
Mm-hmm.
to that, it's almost a matter of like, do you know who you are
Mm-hmm.
anymore? Especially after so many years of roles and service, right? Like a lot of women that I've worked with have said things like, I don't know what I like. What do you like to eat for dinner? I don't know what I eat for dinner. I know my husband used to eat this and I used to get that because the
Yep.
kids don't eat this.
Yep.
Okay. But like, just little things, right? Like, how do you like to show up in the world? What do you want to do with your free time? And so it's deeper than just getting back to your old self. It's kind of getting back to like maybe a self you've never met before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what works for you now in this day and age, and given you have the roles, because maybe you don't even have the capacity, or you have it, you just can't get back to what you used to be.
Yeah.
Just an example, because I was literally just telling you that
Okay.
minutes before we went live, my 3-year-old is just like screaming, "I want mommy, I want mommy," and I'm like, "But mommy's about to go live, so you're gonna hang out with dada." And so I was thinking to myself, Me time. Just thinking about when I had no strings attached.
Hmm.
No, it wasn't a wife, wasn't even a boss, definitely wasn't a mom, and could go to the LA Fitness for 3 hours in the evening, eat what I want, put a little, what do you call those? They used to call them TV dinners. You throw them in there,
Oh yeah,
take it out.
yeah.
It's so easy. I'm not
Easy.
cooking for anybody, right? And so that was me. But I can't get back to that. I don't want to get back to that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I am a wife, I am a mom, I am a boss. So it's a matter of like using your current state, your current roles, and like finding your true self, as you said.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And we take on so many, roles and who wants, like would I trade places and go back to like 22-year-old Sasser? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if you don't get to the benefits of being 40, I don't know. But right, when I do, I think the fun thing to watch is sometimes when people do get back to themselves, it's
Yeah.
often a very young version of themselves. It's
Yeah.
often what was that 10-year-old you before you had the world, the
Mm.
responsibilities, and how are you going to make money? And what about insurance, right? Before you had any of that, what did you like to do? Did you like to watercolor? Were you a dancer? Did you get
I
really
like that.
nerdy about some topic? And so I've seen a lot of, women and myself too, right? Getting back to maybe some of those like childhood
Yeah,
drives.
I
Like
like
what
that.
were the things that you just did for joy, and maybe it was going outside, going outside. Well, as an adult, I can go hiking, right? I can
Mm-hmm.
take that same joy and kind of translate it for, hey, guess what? Now I'm an adult with like time and money. Like let's
Exactly.
make the little chick inside of me happy. Let's go do the cool stuff, right?
Yeah, and cultivating just being a kid at heart, like, is okay. For my, sister-in-law's birthday, she turned 47. We had a water slide, a water slide. Of
Oh,
course, the kids enjoyed it, but that was for us too as the adults.
yeah, it's
We
our
just
first time
loved it.
here, Sue.
Exactly. So it's just like being a kid and letting loose, that's okay, and just not taking life so seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much seriousness. And I think with positivity or any of this talk, you're like, oh,
Mhm.
it's easy to think it's light when everything's going right. Like, yeah, but there's enough
Yeah.
heaviness. Anywhere that
Mhm.
I can interject a lightness, a grace to other people, a grace to myself, a little bit of joy, a little bit of gratitude. Ooh, this is a good meal. Ooh, that's a pretty sky. Those little things, they make such a difference.
Yes. Exactly, a pretty
Yeah.
sky, woo, like, just get lost in it. So
Yeah.
anybody who follows you, your platform, they've knows that you've talked about divorce, quitting drinking, self-abandonment, and you finally choosing yourself. So what is the difference between taking accountability for your life, but also not blaming yourself for what happened to you?
Yeah. Yeah. It can be a delicate balance, right? And a lot of us
Yeah,
are kind of high achievers. We want the gold star, we want to do a good job, and so there is that balance of, right, everything in your life is because of you, because of, and sometimes it's things you don't even think about, right? It can be the
yeah,
subconscious way that you think about things or your own limiting beliefs or things that you believe about yourself that other people gave you. But so I think when we look to everybody else and everything else, it really puts us in that victim mindset. And
mhm,
there's no movies about a victim who sits on her couch and doom scrolls for 4 hours a day eating Cheetos, right? Like,
mhm,
that's not the hero's journey. And so
yeah,
what I like to do is really take that accountability without shame by like reimagining yourself as the hero of your story, right? Like really just for a minute, like just make it a little cinematic, right? Like, oh, she's down on her luck. She got divorced. She lost her job, right? And like, okay, all of those things are possible. But what does a hero do? How does she take accountability or he take accountability, take action,
just
and
do
then
it.
right see themselves in a way of like empowerment, because when you're
Mhm,
the victim, when you allow things to happen to you, it's a disempowering state. But
mm,
when you see yourself, when you take that accountability and be like, wow, I'm not just accountable for like the junk I don't like, I'm accountable for like I can make my life what I want. Like, why wouldn't I do that? Like, let's do
exactly.
that. Let's do that. And that's, I think, that energy, that rally cry of like, I can change this. I'm the hero is just what we need when we're stuck in the overthinking, self-abandoning, victim mentality.
Yeah, yeah. So let's circle back because I know there's people who listen and they're in a different mindset. So they may have misunderstood something you just said. So you said when you're in the victim mindset and you allow things to happen to you. Say more about
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. And, I'll just use myself, right? So I like the phrase, I'm not pointing a finger, I'm raising my hand, right? So I'm raising my hand of the victim mentality,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Learn patterns, choosing the same type of guy, different details, same type of guy. And then the victim mentality is, oh, this always happens to me. I'll never find a nice guy. There aren't any nice guys out there,
yeah,
right? And just milking that story
yeah,
is the
yeah.
victim mindset. It doesn't feel maybe like a victim mindset. You can talk yourself into it making sense. You'd be like, well, look at my track record. Well, look at my friends. But then when you peel that back one more layer and you say, like, well, who's responsible for, for how I show up and for what I tolerate and for my boundaries and for who I spend time
Yeah.
with? Oh, shoot, that's me. And so that's where I think, this victim mindset, it's not blaming anybody. We get there just
Hmm.
kind of by a natural flow, right? And
Hmm.
we've all done it. Different, maybe it's your love life, or maybe it's work, or maybe it's your money. It's something you can kind of slip into, but if you don't catch yourself, it's a really disempowering state that just kind of feeds itself. And you need sometimes some big event to kind of rock you out of that.
Yeah, it usually takes that. It sucks that it takes that. It's like, why don't we just learn it anyway? But it's like you're the constant of your story. You're the hero of your story. You're the protagonist of your story. You are the one that's always there. So it makes sense to kind of think, oh, what can I do to change this? How can I hold myself accountable? Not necessarily blaming myself. And really, what you're speaking to is empowerment. You have control over your story and resilience.
Yeah. And that can be scary, right? Sometimes it's like, well, like when you first learn to drive, you're like, this is great. I have all the freedom. Also, oh my gosh, I could wreck the car and die, right? You get that moment. And so there is
Yeah.
something with that accountability. If you're like, oh shoot, if I'm actually in charge of my life and I'm responsible for it. What happens if I mess up? What happens if I'm not good at
Yeah.
it? What happens if I die broken, homeless, alone in the street, right? And so that's sometimes breaking out of that can be scary, right? We're comfortable in what we know. And even if you don't like
Hmm.
it, you're comfortable in that misery. And so it can be scary to take that empowering step. But once you have that little bit of courage, I think it changes your life in a trajectory that just changes every other, milestone in your life.
Yeah, I mean, change is good. Challenges are good. That's how you grow. That's how you get stronger. So it's almost like, don't find the bad things and find the challenges, but expect that there's going to be some challenges and that you can grow from. So it's a matter that mindset instead of the victim mindset that you said, but kind of like an empowering
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think of what is that saying? If you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice,
Mm.
shame on me.
Yeah.
So people can think like that. That if you continue to choose the wrong guy, the example that you use, then it's kind of like, shame on you. You keep choosing the wrong
Yeah.
guy, that kind of thing. Or taking a pause. Well, why do I keep choosing the wrong guy? What about me? Do I need to? Am I lacking self worth or self
Yeah.
respect? What do I need to change? So that self awareness.
Yeah. And again, like, it's a good point on like, how are we accountable to change our lives and yet not lump more shame on ourselves or not,
Yeah.
flog ourselves or think that somehow dumping on ourselves is going to inspire us, but it's really quite the opposite. It's easier to kind of keep your morale up when you get just curious about things like, why do I, right? Like, imagine sometimes, I've seen this research where we talk about ourselves in third person, it gives
Yeah.
our mind just enough space to be able to be more objective, right? So if I say everything's like, this is really hard for me, I don't know what I'm doing. But if I said, well, Sarah can't figure out what to do next. Oop, I said my real name, right? Like she, right. If you talk about yourself in that way, or like study yourself with that little bit of outside perspective, just get curious.
Yeah.
All right, why does she keep picking this type of guy? What do they have in common? Why do
Mm.
I feel more comfortable with a guy that's hot and cold than a guy that's steady? I'm just gonna think about that without like, oh, I always do that, or my dad's a jerk, or it's everyone else's fault. Just be like, oh, I'm just real like curious because that seems
Yeah.
weird. Why do we
Yeah.
do that? Why do we do that, Sass?
For
And
sure.
I found again that lightness just makes it so much easier to
Mhm.
move through this deep work, to just be as light as you can about it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the objectivity part, thinking of it from the outside, because it's always easier to tell somebody else what to do when they have their
Like,
problems.
yeah,
So if you think about it objectively, like you're the other person, then it comes easy. Because I
yeah,
mean, also we are so critical of ourselves. Like, oh, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? But you're not going to call your BFF, oh, you're so stupid. Why did you do that? Right.
No.
So that's safer to think of it from the outside perspective. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll make one more tie there too with this whole idea of like practice, right? When we think about practicing or we think about life as maybe like a game or a sport, right? Like, if you're playing whatever you're playing, right? If you're like, I always strike out, I'm terrible. You just know you get yourself in that headspace and it doesn't work out. So like, how would you literally coach yourself through life? Like there's a lot of life coaches, but like, how would you actually like, hey, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay, right? Things are like, how would you actually coach yourself in a way and talk to yourself? Because the most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you're having inside your head with yourself.
God. Yes, for sure. I mean, also, I guess I think it's about like what motivates you. Because I think about my husband and David Goggins. David Goggins.
Oh yeah, I do.
Coaching he does. My husband
Yeah.
Get up at 4 a.m. and this guy, he turns it up, and the guy is just like, pain is nothing. You don't need, your leg hurts, you got another leg, keep going. And obviously he's cursing, and to my husband that's motivational. So it's kind of like, I guess from the same stream, if he cusses himself out, I guess that's motivational for him. But if you need that calm voice, it's like, it's okay, and that self-praise, that's what you need. But some people are motivated by that other stuff.
Yeah. And hey, listen, right? Like sometimes I think I share things that I think, and I'm like, boy, that sounds really corny to say out loud. And then I think, who cares, right? I'm the only one in my life. I'm the only one in my head. So it doesn't matter if it sounds corny to you, it works for me. So if I want to pretend life's a game or give myself bonus points, if I make you laugh at the grocery store, who cares, right? Like make it, no one has to approve what it looks like inside your head. If you're kind and you're a good person and you like, do whatever, right? Have fun. You can do whatever, right, in your mind to kind of help you get through this world. And I think there's no rules for that.
Yeah. And you have to love yourself to be able to do that. And you have to be comfortable with yourself. So it's, how do you get to a point where that, was there a point in life where you did not feel that way and it wasn't as easy?
Oh yeah. No, I did not hang in the saddle. The universe handed me several opportunities. You can always look back and be like, I really just hit the escape button, right? I started drinking heavier, or I got in another relationship, or, stuff was happening, right? I lost my job, or I was in a bad relationship, and I didn't hang the saddle. I did exactly what I did. I put my hand on the hot stove again and again and again. Like I am no different, and it really was that one time where I was in my 40s and, no boss, no parents to talk, right? No boss, no parents, no husband, no corporate. Like I could really just be me. And I had that talk to myself, like, I know I haven't done this work yet. I know there is work to do, and I know I've avoided it. And I think sometimes you just have to have that kind of like come to Jesus moment with yourself. You're like, are we going to live our rest of our lives like this? I don't know why it's plural, right? But that idea. And if I do,
you're talking to yourself.
Myself. And if I do, and the other half of the bargain was, if I don't hang in the saddle, if I don't do the work, I cannot complain or be miserable because it's my choice, right? There is no, then you accept that you are living your life half full. Then you accept it. And you swallow that and say that you're too chicken shit, excuse my language, to do the work, right? Like, and I had that. And I was like, are you okay? Like, Sass, are you okay if you know that you never touch your potential, you never heal your wounds? Are you okay throwing away the next 40, 50 years of your life?
Yeah.
And I think there's those moments, and nobody can do it for you. Your loved ones can't do it for you. Your therapist, nobody can have that talk with yourself where you're like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. This is not okay. I can't live my life like this. And whatever that is, right? It could be relationship or drinking or whatever, whatever your thing is, or childhood wounds. You might not have caused it, but you are solely responsible for getting yourself out of it. And, and tons of compassion. We've all had something, right? Like, we've all had something in our lives, and, you have to do it for yourself.
You have to do it, as a psychiatrist and therapist, like, I can't help you. You got to help me help you. You're responsible. And so that's very true what you're saying. And, some people hit rock bottom. Do you feel like you did get to the rock bottom, or like, was there a point where you're just like, I can't take another thing? And how did you get out to do what was that?
Yeah. So right before the layoff, I was in like a situationship. You know what that is, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I knew better, right? Like I knew better, and I still did it. I willingly, like, I done some healing, and, and when that And when that blew up in my face, as I knew it would, right? As I got a call one day from another state saying, hey, I can't see you anymore, like deuces, and it was such a small thing, right? And since then I've lost my house to a flood and like, right, I've had all these other things. But at that moment, I just realized like I really spent my entire life just waiting for a relationship, trying to just find someone to love me, just trying to find a partner. And oh wow, I've spent most of my adult life just in relationship or trying to do that. And like kind of what a waste, or I don't want to waste more time. And so that was, it was such a small thing. It was almost kind of embarrassing to admit that like a situationship, after, all the ththings that happened to us, sometimes there's just one thing that you're like, you know what, that really hits home, whether it's a layoff or whatever. But it was a breakup. And then I lost my job 2 weeks later. And, and those two things was the time where I was like, I got to do something, and sometimes you get it with that, like, not like the Goggins, but like, I know when I get that calm, quiet voice, then that's the truth, right? Like the anxiety is loud and it's urgent and it needs you to do this yesterday and it's loud and it talks fast. But like that calm, quiet voice that's like, Sass, like it's time. Like we got to do this. It's time. Like that voice, when you get that, like
yeah, for sure. Like
how to answer that call.
Like, come on, yes, sometimes you do need that shaking. Like what is going on? So yeah, it's like. For those who believe in God, it's kind of like God trying to get your attention. Otherwise, it's the universe trying to get your attention. Some flow of energy is trying to get your attention. When all those things happen, it's kind of like, okay, what do I need to change? And oh my goodness, so many single women come see me. And the source of their depression is I'm single, I'm not desirable, nobody wants me. And I really do feel like, the men are outnumbered by women. There's just so many women, right? So it's harder for them to find men, but it does turn into that chase, and it's kind of like, well, do you know how to live with yourself? What makes the loneliness turn into depression? What makes you feel like, oh, just because I'm single, I'm undesirable? So now that it seems you're out of that chase, what do you say to women right now who feel that?
And I'll put a fine point then on, right, like the situationship. Like having a romantic relationship breakup, it really was the symptom of a deeper wound, right? That was like the childhood dad wound, right? And it just showed up in my adult relationship. So, so it was seeing that, and, and that's hard to see, right? It's hard. It's hard to sometimes admit, like to look at the big scary, monster under your bed. So, if you're not there yet, and this all sounds like abstract and like, okay, yeah, right. Like I'll do that. I think everybody in their heart kind of knows what they're running from or knows what has to be done. And, it's really just like, find that little bit of courage. And anyone you see who you think like, boy, they really have their life together, they have probably crawled through it. I used to always use the Shawshank Redemption, that I crawled through a mile of poop and came out clean. And that's what it is. You have to crawl through that mile of crap, and you come out, and it's worth it, right? It's worth it.
I love that example, because people think it's easy to get out and get free and free yourself and find yourself. And you use that as an example. He was in prison, right? And a lot of us are in the prison of our mind, in prison of doing the same mundane thing, or in prison of that traumatizing ourselves, or that it's just that trap, right? But it takes so much to get out. Like I can't imagine digging that hole. I don't remember how long he crawled, but it was obviously long. Miles, I think,
miles.
right?
Yeah, it was miles.
Yeah,
miles
he does that. Yeah. Or once he dug it, he got into the pile of shit, like you just said, and crawled through all that. But that's what we got to do to find our joy.
Yeah.
It's worth it. Yeah, I changed to say or find ourselves, because joy is still there, even in the shit.
Yeah, it is. It always is, right? And, and years later, my home flooded and I rebuilt it. And then the next year, my home flooded again, and it was a total loss. And, so since then, right, like I've had darker times. And once you kind of break through, once you kind of change how you see about things, once you practice your positive, you really do make yourself stronger to get through anything, right? It's practicing the good stuff now gets you in shape for when the tough stuff happens, because it's going to happen. And, we don't want that for our loved ones or the world, but we know what's going to happen, right? Loss, illness, financial addiction, right? These things happen to us and to our loved ones. And how can we kind of prepare ourselves, right? Like, working out now, One workout doesn't give me a six pack, but if I keep doing it, right? If I keep doing it, I will get stronger. If I keep doing it, if I keep, running, I can run farther. I can run faster. So, how can we kind of get ourselves in shape for those things? Because, just like we have insurance and we save money, like what do we do for our mental health and for our resilience when we know something's going to hit us, right? So I think, thinking about it as more of like something I can practice, also gets us to that resilience point.
Yeah. I love the word practice. That practice is the key. You think about a test that's coming up. You have to practice, you have to study, you have to do some practice tests. Obviously, you think about all the sports teams that are out there. You have to practice and you have to practice hard so you can prepare. And so a lot of us don't think of life like that or like dealing with challenges. Like, let me practice my positivity so that when something bad happens, I know how to act.
Yeah.
So how do we start practicing positivity?
Yeah. So, what I started with was a little set of rules. And so I have some and I can share them, and I'm working on rolling those out to the world so that we all have this kind of common language of how we can practice our positivity, in like an uplifting, approachable way. But until then, I would just say, like, write down a couple of things that that are easy, that you could do that make you feel good. Like, let's just not say positive. Let's just say what makes you feel good. Just, 3 or 4, 5 things a day that you're going to do, and you're just going to do every day. Maybe it's, take that walk in the morning. Maybe it's always tell your loved ones, I love you before you hang up or whatever. Maybe it's taking an extra 5 minutes to take care of your appearance, right? What are a couple of things that you do that just make you feel good? And then just do them intentionally, not like a chore, but like, yay, I get to do the stuff that makes me feel good. And no matter how busy I get, no matter how many things I have to do, I'm going to do these 3 or 5 things today because they make me feel good. And I bet even if you just start there without a PDF from me or without some challenge, without an app tracker, just doing, a couple of things a day intentionally, and then feeling good about them, right? Like, feel good about it. Do the thing and then be like, boy, that does feel good. I love talking to someone, or boy, that hug was, right? Milk it for a little extra. And then just see how it goes, and email me or, DM me if it didn't work for you. If you're worse off for doing this, I will free all your money back, which is none. But you know what I mean, right? Like, you're not going to feel worse. You're not going to.
Exactly.
Because we are what we are what we do, and we are what we practice, and we're all practicing something. Are you practicing at complaining about your traffic? Are you practicing, you know what I mean, being impatient with people? What are you doing? You're doing something right now. So just replace it with something better, and you'll be in better shape in your relationships, in yourself, in your physical health, all of it.
Yeah, and make the decision. Don't wait until you feel like it. Because for the most part, you probably aren't going to feel like it.
Yeah. You can't wait. You can't wait till, right, I started in healthcare. You can't wait to have a heart attack and be like, all right, doc, from the operating table, I'm going to start working out today. Well, you can't, right? Not right now. Where people are like, I just got divorced, I'm going to be so positive. You're like, whoa, slow down a little bit. Now is not really the time. Just get stable, just heal yourself, like, just take some time, don't pressure yourself, be positive. If you have some healing to do, if there's some stuff going on, relax. Get yourself together. If it feels like a chore, you're doing it wrong, right? If it's no fun, then you're doing positivity wrong, because it should be fun and it should feel good. It should not be a chore, and it should not make you feel ashamed. You should be like, yay, I can't wait to give my boyfriend a 10-second hug. Not like, oh God, I got to do this thing, right? These are good things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so true, because I'm always talking about positive affirmations and prescribing positive affirmations to my patients. Say something positive to yourself throughout the day, 3 times a day, whatever it is. And so a lot of patients who are depressed, right, clinically depressed, that just doesn't work for me. I don't believe it. I don't believe it when I say it.
Yeah.
So it is hard, initially, but for those who are like chronically stressed or chronically depressed, I do feel like the practice piece is important.
Yeah.
But what you said there, I want to highlight: after a divorce, after a loss, after a thing that just happened, like it's for you to just, it's just good. We're not ignoring it. You
two thumbs down.
Feeling. Feel it. I'm devastated. I'm numb. I'm lost. I don't like this situation. Whatever it is, feel it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, feel it. Yeah. Yeah, that was a big part. I was already into positivity when I lost the house, and it was like, oh, no one said it to me. I said, Miss, like, oh, you can be positive now, little Miss, lose all your worldly possessions. You're gonna be happy now, and it's like, no, I'm not happy. I woke up mad. I woke up pissed off every day for months, being like, this is my life. I'm in this nightmare again. And I'm like a freaking positivity speaker. And I would wake up every day angry. And, I had to go through it. I needed that time, and so I definitely, you got to feel the feels. It's
Were there parts of those days where you had some positivity, or it was anger throughout the day?
No, it was usually I would wake up and I would just be angry, but then when you're going through it, little angels here and there, right? Like, the older neighbor who would give me a hug when I took out the trash, right? Or my daughter and I used to go to Chinese buffet every Sunday night. It was like our thing because there was couches and I didn't have to cook and so, these little moments where you're like, if I'm in this moment right here, right now, right? Like if I'm not worried about the future and I'm not mad about what happened. If I'm right here, right now, I am safe. I am breathing. I'm in a safe spot, right? Like there was always, and if I brought myself down to like the smallest granular moment, I have clean drinking water. We live in a safe country. Like, right. We're not currently being bombed, right? Like at any given moment, I am actually okay. It's me versus all the demons and dragons of the past and the future when I'm fighting. But right now, I'm fine. I have food to eat. My family is healthy, right? And so that really was how I had to work my way out. It's the same thing, starting with those teeny baby reps, right? Just like, you're not going to go lift the Olympic 200-pound bar of positivity. You're going to start with the baby 1 pound weight of, I woke up today. I'm happy I woke up. I'm happy I'm not dead. Like the smallest thing, the smallest rep you can do, I'm happy I have a paycheck. Just move your way up until eventually you can really, build those muscles of positivity.
I mean, that just shows that gratitude can be so helpful. But I like that. I like what you said, because just because you're team positive or that's what you do or that's what you practice, it doesn't mean you're never going to be angry. So even though you did all that, you woke up angry. But I asked the question because it also shows that because you practiced it, you knew how to find little baby gratitudes throughout the day so that you weren't sitting angry all day. Because that's what the audience needs to hear. They need to hear that, oh, even though I wake up angry, the end of my day can be like this, or a couple hours I can be like this.
Yeah. And it's what works for you, right? So if you hear this and you're like, that's corny, why did she do that? Okay, then what works for you, right? I don't know. Listen to Dave Goggins yell at you if that works, right? Or listen to heavy metal 5-finger death punch. I don't care. It's your game. Play it your way.
Exactly.
Right? Like find something that you can, that gives you a little glimmer, a few minutes of stand up, right? Or, sometimes I do all my hair and makeup and I'm like, oh, I am so cute. Why am I mad? I'm so cute, right? Whatever it is, it doesn't, if what I'm saying doesn't work for you, what does, right? On your day, what just gives you that little zip in your step? And then just do that, right? Just allow yourself the time and space and the gift of feeling good. Really, that's all positivity is. It's like feeling good about life, about the world, about other people, and just let yourself have that.
Yeah, exactly. Allow yourself to be free and have it. And I mean, honestly, I think that gratitude or corniness rather, because I always say that gratitude is so fluffy and like, oh, why should I do gratitude? But I think the word corny is usually what I mean when I say, oh, that's so fluffy.
Oh,
but
corny.
The more corny it is, I feel like the better. Right. So find your corny.
And you can be cool on the outside, right? I like to think that I don't always wear my corn ball on my face, but right, like who knows? Nobody knows what you're saying on the inside. You could be, whatever works for you is what works for you. So do it.
Yeah. But yeah, one more thing, and this is great. I love this conversation we can do all night. But you mentioned like people saying, "Oh, you're so team positive. So are you positive now?" It reminds me because my thing is like choose joy. Yeah. And of course, my husband, if I'm looking down or angry or something, he's like, choose joy. Okay, but I want to be angry right now, but it still is a reminder. But it's just interesting when people throw your brand back up in your face, because it's just like, oh, okay, let me practice. But it also doesn't mean you have to be perfect all the time.
Yeah, right. And again, that idea of practice just gives us so much grace, right? And because you know what? Hey, say today you had the best day of your life. You helped hopefully you wake up tomorrow and you have to do it all over again. So really every day is no more than practice, and even after your worst day, you're going to hopefully wake up tomorrow and you can start again. And so, if you just look at it as this big evolving body of work, just trying to be a better human, just trying to be happier, just trying to add more joy to the world, right? How am I doing? If that's my biggest mission in life, how am I doing? And what can I practice today, in a fun way?
For sure. So if we're saying, why getting back to ourselves is the wrong goal and what to chase instead, is the quick answer we need to chase positivity?
I would say I'm going to loosen up a little bit and maybe just say feel good, or maybe still use joy. Yeah. Right. If you have a good heart and good intentions, then allow yourself to be happy, right? Allow yourself to do the things that make you feel good. And, and sometimes that might be giving yourself a big hug, right. For what you've been through, and how can you just be a little bit nicer to yourself, right? Just a little kinder to yourself. And just make it real small and approachable,
Yes.
Because it can seem real like, oh yeah, you don't understand. And hey, listen, when I'm in that headspace too, but just, open the door a little bit that, that maybe you just allow yourself to feel good and you stop beating yourself up a little bit so much. And maybe that's enough.
Yeah, for sure. That's really great. And if we go to jointeampositive.com, what will we find? Is that how we get?
Yes, that is the pro shop. So we don't just talk positivity. We wear and share the message. So it's kind of a sporty brand. T-shirts and gear, energy is everything. Something for everybody. We'll be doing more collabs with other brands and rolling out collections. So something that lets you share your own positivity and be unapologetically joyful and, grateful and a positive light in the world, right? Like we're all about that. So if you go there and, I'm sure you'll put up the socials, and I just invite everybody to come check it out and follow me as I build this, doing all the behind the scenes on Instagram at Sass Schaeffer. So you get like what it's like to build a brand in your 40s and just a little bit of my life. And it's a fun journey.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sass, for coming on Journey to Joy Live. And thank you for everything that you do. Love the name, love the brand, and appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Enjoy. This is lovely.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
This has been an Enjoy Life production. If you're in a crisis, don't hesitate. Call, text, or chat 988 for immediate support. Please note, this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional treatment. If you're looking for therapy or medication management through Enjoy Life, visit www.drenjoylife.com to request a consultation. I'm licensed in 13 states. I accept Aetna in Georgia, Florida, and Virginia. Be sure to grab your copy of the Enjoy Note to help you on your wellness journey. Also check out Inspire Joy for the wife, mom, boss to help you balance it all without losing yourself. Better yet, get the full Joy bundle for just $45. Remember, Journey to Joy Live is every Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, may you continue to transform stress into joy.